Following his recent win over Martin Murray, George Groves told Sky Sports that he actually texted Eddie Hearn asking him about a fight against Hearn's fighter, Callum Smith. And according to George Groves, Eddie Hearn hasn't responded. Now, I'm going to quote George Groves directly here. He said, "I texted Eddie. Me and him are quite good pals. And after I beat Martin Murray, I texted Eddie asking him about Smith next. He usually texts me back, but this time he didn't text me back. Maybe he's got plans because Callum is waiting for the WBC or for his WBC. But if he's got to wait some time, then he might fancy a fight beforehand. It would sell a few tickets, I think, and it would be a good one for the fans. We're fortunate to be in a good division with big fighters, big personalities, and a lot of them are from Britain as well. There's potential there to make huge fights, and I think it's inevitable. It's always down to a bit of timing. Everyone's up for fighting each other, and that's the most important thing." So that's what George Groves had to say about that situation. Now, George Groves, to me, has always come across as a fearless man. That's one of the things I admire about George Groves. I do get some people leaving comments in the comment section of some of my George Groves videos calling me a George Groves hater, saying I'm overly critical of him and all this type of stuff. Nothing could be further from the truth. I've always liked George Groves. I've particularly in his earlier days, I liked his style. As a character, I find him interesting. So I like George Groves. And I would definitely like to see a Callum Smith fight. And again, one of the things I've admired about George Groves the most is his fearlessness. He'll get in there with anybody and he's utterly confident. I mean, he's just incredibly confident, George Groves, a very mentally strong individual. Definitely something I admire about him. Anyway, Callum Smith believes the fight will eventually happen in the future, and he had some things to say about it also. He says, "It's a fight I've no doubt I'll win, but it's a good fight for the British public. He's well known and I'm unbeaten. We both want the same thing, to be world champion, so I'm sure it's a fight that can happen in the future. As long as we both keep winning, then it's always going to be talked about." Now, is that Smith's way of saying he's not open to having the fight now? There are a lot of people who believe that Callum Smith could beat George Groves right now. And in fact, Eddie Hearn has gone on record several times saying that he believes Callum Smith could beat George Groves. He's been on record several times saying that he would take the George Groves fight for Callum Smith immediately. Is Eddie Hearn backtracking now? Is Callum Smith maybe not so confident about beating George Groves? Or is it, as I say, or as is being said by some, and as George Groves kind of alluded to there, is it a case of Smith and Eddie Hearn waiting on Smith's WBC shot against Badou Jack? Maybe they want to get that fight first before fighting Groves. Because even if they're not worried about losing to Groves, perhaps they could get injured. Or, Smith could get injured or something else could happen. So, or maybe the title could change hands. Maybe Badou Jack could fight somebody else and the title changes hands and, God knows what type of rules might be bent and broken for the new champion. Who knows what can happen. So from a business point of view, maybe Hearn and Smith want to get that title shot against Badou Jack, and from their point of view, hopefully get the win, get the title, and then they can start talking about Groves and what have you. But as far as I'm aware, there may be a unification happening before all that between James DeGale and Badou Jack. So that's going to leave Callum Smith on the sidelines for a while. And in which case, if that does happen, then maybe what George Groves is saying might be a viable option. But again, it's all about risk reward, isn't it? Maybe Smith and Hearn don't want to take the risk of fighting Groves before securing that title shot. So if they don't fight Groves, who are they going to fight in the meantime? Are they just going to wait it out and not fight anybody? Wouldn't that backfire on them going into a title fight against Badou Jack or the winner of Jack against DeGale? Guess it depends who wins. So drop all your comments in the comment section below and let me know how you feel about everything I talked about in this video. All right? It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.